Good morning and welcome to Health Talk here on AM 1270 and 96.5 FM KXBX. Here today with Bill Kearney of Northlake Medical Pharmacies. Post Memorial Day weekend, it is the official start of summer, and how's things going with you?
Well, you know, I'm kind of gearing up. I'd been gone for so long. I hadn't most of the winter. With all the rain and stuff, I hadn't cleaned up my lawn, so I did a lot of that, and I got my sold one of my boats and got the pontoon boat out and cleaned up and spent a little time out on the lake on Sunday. It was beautiful. And now I've got to spend this weekend. I'm cooking for People Services for the Chicken Queue. Then working for the Lions Club on Sunday for the boat races. So good thing I had last weekend to catch up on stuff. So
I know.
How about you?
Well, it's going to be a busy weekend. Memorial Day was all right. We're a little bit of some flu going around in the family, so a few of us were kind of laid up for a day or two, but you know, relaxing, didn't really go anywhere, do much, stuck around home. But this weekend is the big weekend for my family because we've got family coming in. Matthew's birthday is on Saturday. His birthday party is on Sunday. I've got Little League tournament Saturday and Sunday. And I'm taking next Monday and Tuesday off because my wedding anniversary was last month, or this month, the 19th of May, and we didn't get to celebrate it, so we're celebrating it this weekend. So my busy weekend is this weekend. And we might go out and see the boat races, and we might go by the Chicken Queue. I don't know. There's all kinds of possibilities.
There's all kinds of stuff
what's going on now, you know, here.
Well, your anniversary is a day after my birthday. My 75th birthday was on the 18th.
18th, yeah.
So
it was our 10-year.
Oh, really?
10-year anniversary, yeah.
That's good. Mine will be 44. It may have already been 44. I'm not sure. You know, once you get 75, you don't really look at those things. Like
as long as you can remember the date, it doesn't really matter what year it is. I think.
Well, mine is January 19th. So we have one thing in common: the number. So, but today we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. A lot of new things have come up on. As far as healthcare goes, and things that were in the local newspaper today, and a lot of things about the costs of prescriptions. So we're going to be talking about how to save money on your prescriptions, how to reduce the prescription costs, what happened with Tiger Woods and his little episode the other night with being stopped by the police in Florida and getting a DUI, and it wasn't alcohol, it was all drugs. If you look at the list of drugs, there's only one of those drugs that's a real medication in the United States, and that was the Vicodin, which is a narcotic. The other drug he listed was something like Solatex, which is not a drug in this country at all. I'm suspecting it might be a muscle relaxant. I don't know. The other one was Torex, which doesn't exist in this country either. I'm suspecting it's an anti-inflammatory. That's Toradol in this country. And then the fourth drug was Vioxx, which is a drug that's a strong anti-inflammatory that's been off the market for 10 years because of cardiac side effects, so problems with your heart. So, you know, he wasn't, I don't know that those drugs were what was found when they did a blood test. Those are the drugs he said he was currently on. So he's either clearly not comprehending what he's taking, or he's getting them from other sources, and he has a desperate problem with combining medications. And to supplement that, this weekend, I think it was San Francisco, it might have been the state of California, had a big deal on getting a DUI isn't strictly from being intoxicated with alcohol. It could be drugs. And there's no excuse for people driving that are under the influence of medication. Even if you have a doctor's prescription and says you need to be taking the drug, you will still be arrested for being under the influence because you're not safe to yourself or others. So, and then there was an article in the Record B today about seniors and taking medication. Doctor shed some light on medication. He's talking about, he's a geriatric physician, about the kind of medication that people are taking, both for dementia, Parkinson's disease, arthritis, you name it, and we're taking it. And because our population of the elderly is increasing it so much and we're living longer, and we have a situation that's become very, very serious in Lake County, there aren't any physicians here anymore that are practicing as full-time physicians. As of probably the end of this year, it will be very hard to find a physician in private practice in Lake County, and especially in Lakeport. So what happens is we fall between the cracks and we take these kind of medications and we have no idea that we're compromised. I had a person yesterday call me that had been prescribed a new medication for neuropathy, and they were having, they'd only been taking the medication for 3 or 4 days and were having some bizarre side effects from it. And he had seen so many physicians in the last 6 months, he couldn't even remember the physician that prescribed it. And whether it was a specialist or whether it was his primary care, whether it was an orthopedic person, he had recently had surgery, and the neuropathy came after the surgery. And so it's a new thing that they're treating, and he already had multiple reasons to be taking medications. When there's nobody to talk to, and you're going to a number of physicians, and half of them that you started with are no longer practicing here, it becomes very difficult for you as a patient. And I keep saying to people, you have to be the most responsible person for your health. And it's very difficult for us to get used to that. I just had a recent relative that had been treated for pneumonia for several months, and it hadn't responded, and went to a clinic over the weekend and found out that she had probably has an extremely large heart from having to work so hard to pump oxygen through her system. So probably has a pulmonary disease also, and they're giving her antibiotics on a daily basis, shots to keep her going until she can go see a pulmonologist and a cardiologist. And this is in a big city. This is in a city that should be no problem getting a specialist health practitioner, but the insurance has to get a prior authorization to have them do that. So we're in really tough times when it comes to health care, and that's with Obamacare still in effect. So, and then we're pondering a new health care system, and I'm just so afraid what's going to fall through the cracks. At my age, I could be one of those people. And if you look at some of the symptoms of some of the diseases that you can get as you're older, you know, I qualify for probably half of those diseases. So it is rather alarming to me. And the thing that makes it even worse is the price that you and I have to pay for medications. I'm not a fan of the New York Times, but I get a lot of health information from the New York Times. And day before yesterday, there was an article about independent pharmacists, which we always hear about the chains and how great they're doing and how great they are. But in spite of us being available as a local independent pharmacist, we don't get the local government to buy into our health care plans. We don't get the opportunity for them to buy into our health care plans. We don't even have an audience to say we could probably do this cheaper, as there is a law on the books in Lake County that says if you're 10% more expensive, we still will go with you because they're local. That doesn't seem to make a difference to the Board of Supervisors. That doesn't seem to make a difference to the county administrator. And I've been very active in this community for the last 40 years, and my reward for that is to not be able to do any of those things. So when these independent pharmacists, hundreds of them, swarmed the House and Senate office buildings one afternoon in Washington, D.C., and it was our political action day, and they swarmed the staircases as they rushed from one appointment to the next. I told you many times I have done that with our representative and to no effect. And as they crowded into the lawmakers' offices describing themselves as the white hats of the industry, they pointed a finger at PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers like Express Scripts and CVS Health, which handle the drug coverage of millions of Americans. If you want to reduce prescription drug costs, pay attention to the middlemen, and those are the people that are getting the extra money. A civil war broke out between the most powerful players in the pharmaceutical industry, including brand name and generic manufacturers. The brand name companies would pay the generic manufacturers not to bring their generic on the market and pay them millions of dollars not to bring it available so they could continue to take more and more benefits from the pharmacy benefit to the pharmacy benefit managers. And when they took a poll, Democrats and Republicans alike have lowering drug prices near the top of their health care priorities. We're mad. The public is mad. The pharmacists are mad. Insulin for a month's supply right now can be $1,000 a month. That's ridiculous. Insulin isn't a new drug. Insulin has been around for multiple years, and they may have another device to inject subcutaneously, but there's no reason that you should be paying over $1,000 and we should be making or losing $5 on $1,000. So EpiPens are another one. But will all those efforts reduce drug costs? It's still a very uphill fight because the lobbyists are getting more and more stronger. Last year, the Center for Responsive Politics said the industry pays some 1,100 lobbyists, more than 2 for each member of Congress. In the 2016 election, the industry poured more than $58 million into the election campaign of congressional and presidential candidates, and you can just take to the bank that that included Lake County representatives as well. There isn't any single proposal that has emerged as a clear winner to bid to lower prices. Members of Congress have put forth a grab bag of options, each of which would help or hurt different players. And now it's a free-for-all. The brand name drug industry is the dominant player. It spends most on campaign contributions, has the largest army of lobbyists and the biggest pile of chits among lawmakers to protect its own interest. In the trade group, the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, which we call Big Pharma, was so concerned about its vulnerability last year it increased its annual dues by 50%, generating an extra $100 million to float to social media, television stations, newspapers, and magazines that are influencing them to go their way. I don't know what to tell you as a pharmacist. These are independent pharmacists that wouldn't have that kind of money if you had a gun at their head to try to preserve their well-being. The pharmacy benefit managers are giants themselves. 2 of the biggest, there's actually 3, Omnicare, Express Scripts, and CVS Health, which are among the nation's 50 largest companies, have initiated their own counteroffensive. And of course, that amounts to money on Capitol Hill. It has gotten to be what I would say was the most unethical, immoral, should be illegal methods of addressing health care. The head of government affairs of Express Scripts said their company's role as middlemen drew fire from all sides. Said, we're designed to create tension. We're successful at what we do, and that's what we want to make sure we do. so people don't understand it. The generic industry has come under attack too because their drugs are generally cheap, and they've also risen sharply in price. And it has just unfolded to be something unbelievable in the healthcare industry. We move from there's no problem to it's not my fault, and it begins to focus attention on what so many of the constituents in these political arenas have been aware of. We're being gouged by the healthcare industry, and we don't like it, and it has to come to some sort of a solution if we're going to survive. So we'll go from something negative to something positive, and that's chocolate. Paul, do you eat chocolate?
You know, I'm not a real chocolate sweet type of a guy. I'm more of a salty, snacky guy. But yeah, you know, if there's a brownie or, you know, chocolate cake, I'll eat that. But I'm not rushing out to buy chocolate bars. I'll
No,
tell you that.
know, I don't either. And if
Yeah.
I do, I like milk chocolate rather than dark
you?
chocolate. And it's dark chocolate that's the
And I think I'm the
advantage.
opposite. I think I'm more of a dark chocolatey.
Well, that's the best. It's
Yeah.
a good antioxidant. It has good effect on inflammation. Most of the beneficial effects are from dark chocolate, but not all chocolate is created equal. The antioxidant and inflammatory power of chocolate is thought to come from dark chocolate, has a lot more of those than milk chocolate, and white chocolate, which does not actually contain any chocolate at all, is not a good source of flavonoids, which is the part that's considered really good. So there is some milk and there's some sugar, and when we get commercially, it's not just the pure chocolate. I don't think milk and sugar and chocolate could be good for you. And if it is good for you, it's 1 or 2 servings a day, not a whole chocolate bar and you buy the big one because you think you're going to benefit more from the effects of a bigger amount of chocolate. That's not the same. It's like
Nope.
it's like having a glass of wine. A glass or 2 of wine is fine, but 3 or 4 glasses of wine is not fine. And some chocoholics suggest it could lower blood pressure and reduce the risk of heart disease. It may help control blood sugar and stress and so on. It's even been backed up on some of the more bizarre health benefits that have been prescribed to cocoa. The Mayans used chocolate powder to relieve the runs, and in the last decade, researchers have identified possible diarrhea-blocking chemicals in chocolate. But as far as for prescribing cocoa to combat syphilis sores or those kind of things like they did in the old days, it's probably not any good. So if you like dark chocolate, that's good news. If you want to eat 3 or 4 candy bars a day, it's probably not very good news. So you need to be really careful about if you want to use it as something that is a positive for you, to not take large amounts of it, and hope that you'll be able to benefit from eating the chocolate. You know, as well as trying to save money on prescriptions, using prescriptions properly is another thing. And yeah, I had an incident. I can't remember if I discussed this last week or not, but I had a young man in that had been prescribed an inhaler, and one of those inhalers that was an inhaler to be used for a rescue type person. So meaning if you needed, you were having difficulty breathing and you needed to use the inhaler to make it easier right away, you could use this. Albuterol is the favorite target for that. So I went to consult the patient, and I says, "Do you know how to use this?" He said, "Yeah, I think so." And I says, "Well, show me how." And he said, "Well, you put it up to your mouth and you squirt a couple of puffs in, and and then it helps you breathe. And I said, well, that's not how you use it. I said, the problem is if you use it that way and you have to go back in the emergency room in about 4 days because it's not working, they're going to give you another inhaler and you're going to be using 2 inhalers instead of 1. I said, you need to shake it up first. You need to get all the air out of your lungs, and this is just this kind of inhaler. Get all the air out of your lungs, push it down so you get a puff into your mouth, hold it in there as long as you can, and then let it out. And then wait 30 seconds to a minute and shake it up again and do the same thing. And that way it saturates all your lung tissue so you get the complete advantage. Now this drug is supposed to, these airways that go down into your lungs, get filled up full of mucus. And it's supposed to thin that mucus out so it drains. And instead of having to work so hard to pump the air through, the diameter of those airways becomes bigger. And so when they go to pump the air down into your lungs, it's not restricted as much. So, and then I had a poor lady yesterday that had a child that had a severe asthma, and she had 4 prescriptions. One was a steroid, one was a rescue type solution that you put in a machine. One was an antibiotic, and one was an asthma preventative. And they all had different sets of directions on them. Some were only to be given for 6 days. Some were to be given every 4 hours. Some were to be given 2 doses on the first day and 1 dose a day for the next 4 days. And the other one was to be given every day, a chewable tablet. I explained, it took about 10 minutes to explain all of these to this poor lady with her sick child, and I thought, you know, I'm really talking about 4 different kinds of drugs that could have bad effects on your little one as well, and they all have different sets of directions. And I said, if I were you, I would go home and write it on a calendar and put down, it said every 4 hours is needed for the one that goes in the machine. Well, is that every 4 hours? Does my baby need that every 4 hours around the clock? And I said, it could be. It's not meant for you to have to get up during the night. But until the antibiotic starts taking effect, you're probably going to need to do this more often. And, you know, this was a complicated set of directions I was giving this young lady. And I felt terrible because I thought, you know, she not that she wasn't intelligent, she was. But she has a sick baby, and you think about that, and you don't want the baby to overdose, and you don't want the baby to get too much of a drug. And we gave her measuring devices that would make it very accurate to give. But that's a lot to put on some people. And then the next person you get is an elderly person that now has hypertension, high cholesterol, obesity, COPD, and diabetes, 5 different disease states. And they're taking different medications, and sometimes 2 or 3 for one of those diagnoses. And the chances are that was prescribed by 2 different doctors. We had a person yesterday that we said, we have 3 out of 4 of your medications. The other one wasn't approved by your cardiologist. He said, that one doesn't go to my cardiologist. That was prescribed by my family practitioner. So, and then the drug, one of the drugs had changed what it looked like. This individual was sharp enough to say to me, that doesn't look like the medication I had before. And we're supposed to put a sticker on that medication that says this looks different, but it's the same medication. And so we checked it and double-checked it to make sure that everything was correct, and it was. And he apologized, and I said, don't apologize. I said, we're here to get it right. And there's never a phone call that's dumb or stupid when it comes to your health and it comes to what we're giving you as a prescription. How many of those people, patients that come to us, have the opportunity to ask that question? almost all of them. But how many do? They see that you're busy. They see a line of people behind them. They've been at a doctor's office for an hour and a half or 2.5 hours, because some physicians schedule everybody on the same time. And so you're there half a day getting the medication and having them assess what's wrong with you, and then you come to the pharmacy and you bring in a new prescription, and it's a 30-minute wait because everybody has a new prescription, or they've had a refill that they called in a couple of days ago. But you're always our priority with the new prescription. And then you go to pay for that prescription, and it costs twice as much as it did last time. Why did that happen? Well, excuse me, some of those things we're going to go over in a while and see how we can make it easier for you before you come into the pharmacy and help you along the way. So maybe when we get the prescription that we have actually have the a drug that's on the formulary, and something that you can take without wearing your pocket out from having the wrong medication or the wrong medication when it's come to your formulary, and there's nothing that you can do about it. There's a lot of things that we can change, and we'll talk about those. Before we take a break, I said we were out on the lake on Sunday. I came back in and Sunday night and sat down to watch 60 Minutes, and I thought, I don't feel quite the same as I did before I went out this morning, so I got on the scale, and I had lost 6 pounds during the day, and I thought I was drinking enough fluid to get rid of being dehydrated, but I hadn't. I was getting leg cramps. I had lost a lot of fluid that I hadn't replaced because of being out in the sun. I immediately started drinking more fluid, and the leg cramping went away, and I put on 3 pounds just in a matter of 2 or 3 hours just drinking more water. So we're going to be getting into those areas of heat now where it's going to stay warm for a long period of time, and we're going to have to keep hydrating ourselves. Now, I know as well as anybody that you have to keep hydrated, and I will as much as I can, but I was having a good time making sure everybody else was taken care of, and found out that I wasn't taking care of myself. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how to save money when your drug isn't generic. Have you been to a pharmacy recently where the employees know your name when you walk in the door and have your prescription refill waiting? If you answer no, then you probably haven't been to one of Northlake Medical Pharmacies. Hi, my name is Bill Kearney, owner of Northlake Medical Pharmacies. For 37 years, my wife Dana, our daughter Brandy, and our employees have been dedicated to giving you the best service we have when you come to get your prescriptions. We are a family-owned pharmacy, and our employees are members of the Northlake Medical Pharmacies family. We know you have a choice when you get your prescriptions filled, and we appreciate you making us your choice. You see, you are part of our family too. We truly care about your health and taking care of you when you aren't feeling well. We deliver your prescriptions free when we know ahead of time and do the best we can to take care of you and your family. Northlake Medical Pharmacies, with 2 locations for you, on Hill Road across from Sutter Lakeside Hospital and outside the Bruno Shop Smart in Lakeport.
People Services Chicken Cube fundraisers this Saturday, June 3rd at the Lake County Fairgrounds. Come on out and support the mission. People Services provides meaningful programs and services for the developmentally disabled. Come on out and enjoy a fun-filled day from 2 to 6 p.m. with the LC Diamonds, a silent auction, and a delicious barbecue chicken dinner with yummy beans and salad. You can also choose a barbecued hamburger or hot dog or a vegetarian option. Tickets are only $10 or 4 for $30. We'll see you this Saturday, June 3rd from 2 to 6 at the Lake County Fairgrounds.
This is the Caltrans Road Information Bulletin for Lake and Mendocino County State Highways for the week beginning Friday, May 26th. For Memorial Day weekend, there will be no Caltrans work causing delays the 26th through the 29th, but of course crews will respond to emergencies. In Lake County on Route 29 near Hofacker Lane, expect 5-minute delays weekdays, and near Bottle Rock Road, expect 15-minute delays weekdays. Also on 175 near Forest Lake Road, expect 5-minute delays. In Mendocino County on Route 20 near Road A, expect 5-minute delays weekdays. On Highway 101 south of Confusion Hill, expect 10-minute delays weekdays, and near Leggett, expect 20-minute delays. On Route 128 west of Yorkville, expect 5-minute delays. On Route 162 near the Middleway and near Sandbank Creek, expect 5-minute delays, and near Covelo, expect 10-minute delays. On 175 east of Buckman Drive, expect 30-minute delays. Finally, on 253 from Boonville to Ukiah, expect 10-minute delays. That wraps up the Caltrans Road Information Bulletin. Like us on Facebook for more updates. That's Caltrans District 1.
Camp Del Oro is a Salvation Army camp experience for kids. Currently with 25 spaces available for ages 7 to 11, 6 spaces for ages 12 to 16 years of age, and will be held July 17th through the 22nd in the foothills of the Sierra. There is a $25 non-refundable registration fee for the 6-day camp. For more information, contact Jan at jan.michelle@usw.salvationarmy.org or call 468-9577.
Raising your family, tending to your animals, growing your own produce, preparing for the seasons, living the country life. Hi, I'm Jody Henke, host of Living the Country Life. Catch me every Monday through Friday at 9:35 a.m. and 4:35 p.m. for ideas and inspiration for your place in the country. That's Living the Country Life here on AM 1270 and 96.5 FM KXBX.
We bring the community closer together, supporting business in every way. We're helping make your dreams come true, working hard for you.
The Lake County Chamber of Commerce would like to recognize the Member of the Month, Management Connections. Management Connections is a full-service staffing agency providing temporary, temp-to-hire, and direct-hire placements and matching local employers with qualified job seekers. While the Lakeport office of Management Connections has only been open for 2 years, the company's Cloverdale location has been open since 1991. Management Connections is located at 290 North Main Street in Lakeport and can be reached at pam@norcaljobs.com or 263-4-JOB.
Lake County Chamber of Commerce, we're steady and strong, help us shape the future.
All right, we're back.
Okay, well, we were talking about prescription costs and things that you could do to reduce prescription costs when a lot of people don't even have insurance and have difficulty paying for their meds. Is there any kind of assistance available? One thing the doctors fail to ask you is, can you afford the medication? You may never know unless you ask. It's important to have a financial discussion with a patient. If you're a health practitioner, you might start to find out what types of drugs they're having difficulty affording and identify opportunities to purchase those drugs at a lower price. You think you're doing people a favor by sending them to CVS or one of the chains. That doesn't necessarily give them the best price, especially the best cash price. Find out if they have any insurance coverage. Most patients fall into one or three major categories: private insurance, government insurance, or they're uninsured. Insurance status dictates which strategy that can be used, and some of the aids described will help them afford the medication. One of the biggest things is that we come across all the time is it's not on the formulary. A formulary is a list of medications that's covered by a health insurance plan, and those formularies change all the time. Prescribing drugs on the formulary will guarantee that a person is receiving the best price for their coverage. Many formularies can be found online, especially Medicare D plans. And there's a Medicare D Plan Finder on Medicare.gov. And formularies provide information, and also they will give you what, if that drug isn't covered, what an alternative might be. Combination medicines may also benefit patients using a combination of a medication instead of two separate medications, but that also can increase your copay. And most of the time, you should consider a generic drug. They're considered the cheaper alternative to brand name medications, but many patients still find themselves struggling to avoid these. We have steroid creams right now that cost $4.50 a year ago, that cost $150 now. The same drug, the same distributor, the same manufacturer. Generic drug programs are offered by most pharmacy chains. They're also offered by most independent pharmacists. We have a GNP pharmacy plan where it's $4.99 for a month's supply and it's $10.99 for a 3-month supply on generic medications through a specific discount program through Good Neighbor Pharmacy, of which we're a member. You may be able to save money by paying the cash price of a generic manufacturer instead of going through their copay. The majority of those plans like that do not have a huge annual enrollment fee, and they can serve as a great aid to patients who are struggling with medication copays or out-of-the-pocket expenses. Now, there are ones that are advertised on the internet all the time. Those are not discounts to go through an insurance company. Those are expecting the pharmacy to take less money for that prescription, and most of those plans aren't covered. They gave a list of annual Medicare D enrollment fees for the chains, and their copays, and they're $4 to $10 for Walmart, $10 to $20 for Rite Aid. Costco is different and variable, and $5 to $30 through Walgreens. That's their generic program plan. Ours, in most cases, are not that high. There are estimated out-of-pocket expenses for a 30-day supply. For lisinopril or something like that, it usually falls under the GNP plan, which is a $4.99 plan, and it is ways to reduce the cost of those medications by going to your independent pharmacist and asking if this is on the plan. And even if it's not on the plan as a $4.99 price, we can run it through the plan and save you money. Although generic drugs are a good way to save money for some patients, a brand name drug may be the only option. Those options for brand name medications vary on the basis of a patient's financial need and insurance. Copay cards, privately insured patients have the option to use copay cards, which are usually referred to as a manufacturer's coupon. It reduces copay for the brand name medication. Depending on the program, it may be reduced or covered entirely. It's important to note that the drug must be covered in part by the patient's insurance. Patient's Assistance Program, which the new drugs that are coming out that are $20,000 and $30,000 apiece for uninsured patients and those without specific drug coverage. Eligibility varies considerably. Medicare D beneficiaries are usually excluded. The applications are lengthy and confusing. That's intentionally so you don't understand it. There is little transparency for income requirements, so it's best to apply even if you feel you may marginally miss the criteria. And then combine the strategies with a generic plus a brand. Generally is a good way to maximize your savings. It is very complicated, and as I was talking to a financial consultant over the weekend, I was trying to explain how pharmacy systems work, and how difficult it is to go to a legislator and tell them what's going on out there, because they don't get it. They don't get it because it is a system by the politicians for the politicians, and they don't understand what you're having to pay for the medication. They're very good about veterans. If you served in combat, I did. I've never applied to the VA. I would rather save that for people that don't have any other kind of insurance. But it is very difficult to get a legislator to listen to the plight of independent business, whether it be pharmacy, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be something else, even though we make up the main structure of society in this country. Now, say you do all the things that we ask you to do to get a better price on your prescriptions, and you get these big pills and you can't take them. Remembering to take your medication every day is hard enough, but when they're massive horse pills, you need to get a glass of water and brace yourself because you're going to gag, and it becomes a whole thing. Even though you eat solid foods and can deal with having other objects in your mouth, swallowing pills just isn't a natural and makes you gag. And we're generally not designed to swallow solid objects, and therefore it's a big deal when you have a gag reflex, which helps to protect foreign objects from entering our airways. If that sounds like something that you can have happen, it can be frustrating. Doesn't mean you shouldn't take your pills. About a third of the people in this country have difficulty swallowing pills. You just have to find a method that works for you. To sway off a little bit from this, and I'll tell you, we were talking about the cost of drugs and telling you something that just blows your mind away. Back in the old days, and I'm talking when I first started practicing pharmacy, and I'm old, but back in the 60s, if people took potassium as they were on a diuretic and they were taking potassium, to replace the potassium that's lost when they were getting rid of the extra fluid, you took a liquid potassium and you drank it, and you took a tablespoonful and you drank it in orange juice or water, and it was potassium in a liquid is potassium chloride. It's the same thing in a tablet, but chloride is a salt. So that's like taking sodium chloride, which is a salt, only this is potassium. That bottle, that 20% bottle of potassium liquid, for 1 pint, which is what people usually got for a month's supply, was $1.50 in 1967. I went to fill a prescription this last week for a person that couldn't swallow the pills, and it was $750 for that pint of potassium chloride. That potassium chloride is made by the bulk in thousands of gallons. Very few people take it anymore. There's only one manufacturer, which is Qualitest, and they're charging $750 a pint for it. That is illegal, immoral, ridiculous. We were able to convince the patient, and the patient was willing to do this, to take the tablet, and the physician suggested crushing it up, even though it's going to be caustic going down, and they were able to take it. But if you don't want to do this, there are methods of trying to swallow pills. You can start by drinking water, which is advised for taking most medications. In the morning, I take 12 medications in the morning. 12 pills, not 12 medications. 3 of those happen to be large potassium pills. One's an anti-inflammatory, one's a diuretic, one's a blood pressure pill, and one's another anti-inflammatory. You start by drinking water, which is advised for taking most medications. And I put all those in my mouth at the same time. And the other one I take is a PPI for my colon cancer. Some medications requiring drinking a full 8 ounces of water and maintaining an upright position for 30 minutes. I'll tell you some of those. One's the potassium. The other is ones that you take like Fosamax for soft bones to get your bone structure back. And the reason is they have an acidic pH to them, or they're either acid or basic, and going down your esophagus is just fine, but if you go to lay down, that fluid comes back up into your throat and can actually burn you. And so it's important to stay upright for 30 minutes. So if you're going to bed and taking some of these medications, if you don't at least have your pillow propped up, it may cause you to have more heartburn than anything else. That may sound unnecessary, but if it can irritate the lining of your throat, so this helps to prevent it, you should do it. And you should take mini pills with water specifically, not some other liquid like coffee or tea, because the other liquid can sometimes affect the effectiveness. If that doesn't work for you, then it's time to get creative. You might consider chopping up the pills or breaking them open, but that's not always a good idea. Some of those medications are instant release, become instant release. They're time release. And once you break it up, then it's not, it all releases at the same time. If that happens to be a narcotic, that could be enough to sedate you so much that you pass out. But when you see a capsule with all those different colored pills, those are all designed to release at a different kind. So you should take a different kind of approach to those. The other, they're the enteric-coated tablets. And I had a patient call yesterday, and the person she's taking care of is taking a baby aspirin a day, and they're taking it through a G-tube, and all they could find was enteric-coated tablets. And so they wanted to know if they could use enteric-coated tablets. I told them they could, but they'd be better off using a chewable tablet. An enteric-coated tablet is like almost like an enamel coating around the tablet that keeps it from deteriorating. As it keeps it from deteriorating, it also keeps it from dissolving too fast in the stomach. If the cavity is already open and you're going through a G-tube or an NG tube, it doesn't make any difference except the release of the medication. So if you have an option, I would certainly take it. There are a couple of techniques for swallowing pills, but at the end of the day, they're just getting the pills in your body, and those are kind of tricking your mind into thinking you're doing something different, although you're doing the same thing. It's just swallowing. The two main techniques, and I've never used these, are the pop bottle method and the lean forward method. So for the pop bottle method, you fill a water bottle, and preferably like a soda bottle, because if it's a regular open glass container, it may not be as easy. You put the tablet on your tongue, close your lips around the bottle opening, and keeping your lips on the bottle, you take a drink and using a sucking motion to swallow the water and the pill. That doesn't work if you're using a great big water glass. So you use a smaller diameter glass and try that. You put the tablet on your tongue, put your lips around the bottle opening, take a drink, and using a sucking motion to swallow the pill. A 2014 study found that there was a 60% improvement in swallowing compared to just taking a sip of water from a cup. For the lean forward method, you put a pill on your tongue, take a sip of water without swallowing, tilt your chin toward your chest instead of what we usually do, above your chest, and swallow while your head is down. Believe it or not, that had an 89% improvement in the same study. So again, you put the pill on your tongue, take a sip of water without swallowing, lower your chin down, and swallow your chin toward your chest and swallow while your head is down, and swallow the pill. That might work really well for you. You have to be careful to ensure that medication isn't accidentally aspirated or goes down our trachea or breathing tube. So it's best to avoid any rapid movements or swallowing attempts. Lots of people choke when they're taking their medications. If you absolutely have to take a big pill, such as a prenatal vitamin, and you're still struggling, it's worth it to talk to your doctor to see if they can give you smaller partition dosages of the same medication. Some people can't swallow tablets or capsules at all. When we give you an antibiotic that comes in a pediatric dose, we end up giving you 3 or 4 bottles because you have to take so many teaspoonfuls to take the same equivalent of what you would be taking with a pill itself. Prenatal vitamins are so huge because they're compounded with an assortment of vital minerals and substances. They tend to be larger to conform to the recommended dietary allowances. If you look at people's vitamins, like GNC vitamins, I think that's General Nutrition, I think it's Walgreens or CVS's label, you will see how big their capsules are, and they deteriorate rather rapidly if they're left open, because there are so many different formulations in there, they decompose quickly. With the potassium, when people were taking the liquid before the tablets came out, they came out with powders. They're called K-Lite powder, that you open up the envelope. It was orange flavored, lime flavored, cherry flavored, and you'd put it in a glass of water, and although it was sweet and a little bit salty, you could drink it down quite easily. So at the end of the day, it's important that you get the medication inside your body, no matter how you make that happen. Lots of pills now, especially with hospice people and people who are not able to swallow. We can use something that absorbs through the skin. We can use many medications rectally that were designed to be orally, but can be rectally as well. Your doctor might be able to substitute your horse pill with an easier to swallow version. If that's not doable, it's important to take your medication even if you have trouble figuring out how to do it. If you're actually able to swallow your pills, you're more likely to adhere to them. So if you can master one of those swallowing techniques, you'll be much closer to checking this relatively unpleasant item off your to-do list. So some people never get over that. Some people never get to the point where they're able to take medications. But it seems kind of strange that if push comes to shove, and it's important to your survival, you learn to take the medication. So we're hoping that our listeners are of that essence, that can also learn to take their medications and do well without having to avoid taking their medication completely, because we're here to get you better, not to get you worse. Dental things, we talked a little bit a few weeks ago about the changes that have taken place in when you go to the doctor's office, as far as the dentist's office, as far as what your whether or not you're going to need an antibiotic at all. And many times we do that if you've had a prosthetic device or a new knee, a new hip, or whatever. That's kind of going by the wayside. I still, like I said last week, don't deny taking the medication if your orthodontist or your family dentist or your specialist when it comes to orthopedics suggests that you take an antibiotic before you go to the dentist. Actually, more people's get infections from bacteria coming loose cleaning their teeth than they do having a procedure. So we need to kind of follow the healthcare guidance the best you can. It's not going to hurt you to take the antibiotics, but we're trying to find all kinds of reasons that you don't have to worry about building a resistance to some of these antibiotics that In many cases, we already have. A few minutes we have left. We need to be concerned about the deer tick, about Lyme's disease. If you find a tick on your skin, get rid of it as soon as you can, meaning get it off your body. Grasp the tick as close to your skin surface as possible, using tweezers if you have them. Pull upward with a steady, continuous motion. Just kind of rock it back and forth to make sure the whole tick is removed. Try not to twist it or jerk it. If the mouth parts do remain in the skin, leave the area alone and let the skin heal. Your body will expel that mouth part over time. After removal, clean the area with an antiseptic such as rubbing alcohol or soap and water. Put the tick in a plastic bag with an antiseptic such as rubbing alcohol. And in case you develop any of the symptoms of Lyme's disease, which we'll go over next week, bring the tick in with you when you see the doctor or when you go into the county. If you live in an area where Lyme disease is highly prevalent, it isn't highly prevalent in California, but it is prevalent in Lake County. Prevent ticks by getting into your skin by wearing long sleeves and pants and shoes and socks. Right now, people are going to these areas weed eating because of things declared fire hazards by the county and the state. Try to avoid areas where ticks are found, such as tall grasses. That's not easily done. If you think you may come in contact with ticks, protect yourself by spraying with a repellent containing DEET or Picardin. You can also apply permethrin to your clothing and check your family members, your pets, while going outside. We're getting into the summer months. Just remember that we're going to have some difficulty with heat and with sunburns, and we need to be very careful about taking care of ourselves when we get sunburn. We will give you some ways to handle that next week. In the meantime, we want to remind you that we are having a few delivery problems right now. It may take you a little while to get your deliveries. Our delivery person has had a health situation happen in his family, and he's not with us at the time. We're trying to pick up the gap and deliver your medication to you. If you can come in and pick it up, that will save us. We're not having as much problem down at the Bruno store as they are on Hill Road. So if you're a listener and you want to give us a hand, give us a call, have somebody come in if we can't get to you and get your medication. I'd like to remind you that we're still doing immunizations. We ordered our flu vaccines, as we talked about last week, for next year, and given a lot of Zostafax for shingles and a lot of tetanus by people stepping on nails and those kind of things and getting hurt while they were on the holiday this week. And just remember, we're a source for all of your meds except yellow fever. So we're more than happy to take care of that for you. You don't need a prescription. We can cover it with the laws in California. I'd like to remind you that we're Northlake Medical Pharmacies with 2 locations for you at 5136 Hill Road East across from Sutter Lakeside Hospital. Call us there at 263-6192. And outside the Bruno Shop Smart at 347 Lakeport Boulevard, give us a call there at 263-1328. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Bill, and we'll see everybody back here again next Wednesday at 10 a.m. for Health Talk right here on AM 1270 and 96.5 FM KXBX Lakeport.